record now because recording because I wanted this to go on record that, oh my goodness, how many people signed up for this? Like, insane. I think we hit 100. I'm not expecting 100 to turn up, you know, things happen, but amazing, absolutely amazing. And it really goes to show that this is something that we need. And thankfully, I know the right person. So the way that this is going to, first of all, thank you to everyone for being so punctual. The way that this is going to work is, first of all, we're going to do an intro to Sara and Sara. But I'll have to kind of just let people in dribs and drabs. Okay, so welcome everyone. Get Exposure is my Facebook group, just to qualify what's going on here. And every time I move my hand, it does a reaction thing. And what happened back in April was Facebook took away the ability to stream to Facebook groups from like external sources. So that was a bit of a thing. I spent a long time down a rabbit hole trying to figure out how to make that work. I'm quite into tech and stuff, and I like a bit of a challenge, but it was really, really difficult. So Sara suggested just doing like this, get people to register, get people on the Zoom, everyone can mute themselves, and the two of us can have a chat. And then afterwards, we'll have Sara's going to do 3 audits on people's LinkedIn profiles. Hopefully, the 3 people that signed up for it will come, but if not, they can see the recording afterwards. And then we're going to have time for questions. So you can either just write your questions down with you, or you can put the questions in the chat, whatever works for you. I should have assigned someone to be like letting people in. That would have been a clever idea. Okay, so admit all of those people and let's get going. So what we're talking about, Sara, you can unmute yourself. What we are talking about. Oh, Justine, wait 1 sec. Justine has volunteered to do it, but I don't know how to allow you to do that. I'm not really sure.
If you want to make me co-host, then I can let people in.
Justine.
Go to participants.
Make host. All right, you're a co-host.
Okay.
Brilliant. Okay. Without further ado, how to create a profile on LinkedIn that attracts the right clients. So let's mute everyone that's joining. Wonderful. So introducing Sara Royf. Sara is a LinkedIn coach. We have lots of similarities in what we do because she supports small business owners. So do I. She helps them like identify who their ideal clients is, and that's something that I'm very into as well. In terms of optimizing LinkedIn profiles, obviously I don't just focus on one platform. I help people with different platforms, but it's the same thing. It's like, how can we optimize it? How can we make it make sense? How can we bring the right people and draw people in? And then she doesn't just leave it there. She has like marketing strategies, how to implement it in order to help people to grow and essentially make more money. Because at the end of the day, that's one of the main reasons why you're in business. Sara, did I miss anything?
No, I think you got it.
Okay, cool. So, Carol is in Wales, sunny Wales. That's nice. I'm happy that you have good weather. So let's just start the discussion with, can you explain like, why did you get into LinkedIn per se, and why should we care about LinkedIn? Who should care about LinkedIn?
Thanks, Sara. And I'm excited to be with all of you today. And I know there's also a handful of folks watching the recording, so really happy you guys joined. So the reason why I got into LinkedIn was because actually like 10 years ago, I started a nonprofit, and I didn't have a big budget for the nonprofit, but I wanted to get folks to notice what we were doing. So I thought, okay, I can do direct message outreach.
We've got it. Wait one sec. I'm trying to figure out who isn't muted. I don't know who it is. I can't see.
Oh, I think we're good now. So
We're good.
10 years ago, I had a nonprofit and we had a very minimal budget. And we wanted to get people's attention. We needed national partnerships. We needed to raise money to support our mission. And I had to get creative about how I would do that. And so what I started doing nearly 10 years ago was sending cold outreach messages on LinkedIn, cold emails. I updated my LinkedIn profile, of course, and I started posting about what we were doing at the nonprofit. And through the process of gaining visibility in this way, we landed really terrific national partnerships. We raised up to this date nearly $1 million, and we grew from 1 chapter to 75 chapters across the United States for this nonprofit. So I saw how LinkedIn supported the nonprofit that I had built at the time. And I thought that there have to be other applications for how LinkedIn can support others achieve their goals. So about 1.5 years ago, I just set on a mission while I was still working full-time in high tech here in Israel. I set on a mission to start sharing what I was doing every week with my LinkedIn community. So once a week, I would write a post on LinkedIn, which is a great place to start if you guys want to get into posting. And I would just share what I was doing at work, what I was learning, conversations I was having. And I started to build this really nice community. So I started to get some interest from business owners and learning how they could do the same for themselves. So that's how I started coaching folks on LinkedIn on the side. And then when I had more demand than I could handle while still working full time, I decided that it was the right time to quit my full-time job and open my business full time as a LinkedIn coach. And really the reason why small business owners are talking so much about LinkedIn these days and investing in their LinkedIn profiles and marketing strategy is because LinkedIn is the place where movers and shakers hang out, right? So if you think about the decision makers that are at companies, that are even in government, they're often on LinkedIn in a way that they're not on platforms like TikTok or Instagram or X even. And so when we want to get access to these decision makers, or another way to put it is folks who have more money, right? Oftentimes our services are best positioned to folks that have money to pay for those services. This is actually supported by the data too. LinkedIn is the most wealthy of all the social media platforms in terms of the average salary that somebody makes who's using LinkedIn. So it's a great platform to hang out on because there's other great people that are hanging out there too. And so that's why I became passionate about LinkedIn. And I learned how powerful the different tools were, whether it be your profile, direct messaging, posting content, in order to achieve your specific goals as a business owner, which I'll give you a hint. The primary goal is likely getting more clients. There's probably secondary goals as well, like getting more visibility, honing your voice, attracting opportunities. But at the end of the day, what my clients typically want is more clients, and that's what I support them with.
That's just brilliant. I love how you talked about like the movers and the shakers. Because to begin with, I don't know what year LinkedIn started, but to begin with, it was just like so stuffy. I mean, people can be still quite stuffy. But a few years ago, they just completely upped their game. And I could see that I need to like get on board this train, that it's morphed into something so much more than just like somewhere for stuffy corporate people to hang out. So I've heard you talk about LinkedIn as being like a conference. What do you mean by that?
I love to compare LinkedIn to a conference because when you go to a conference, you usually have specific goals, right? So you go to a conference in person, let's say in Tel Aviv, and you want to meet more people, you want to find clients, you want to share your perspective with others. Well, you can think about LinkedIn as an online conference that's always happening. So at any point, you can open up LinkedIn and you can pick what your goal is in that moment. Your goal could be to share your opinion, in which case you can write a post. You could decide to comment on someone else's opinion, right? Let's say somebody gave a speech at a conference and you want to go up to them after and comment. That's kind of like commenting on a post. Or you can go pick somebody in the crowd, check their name tag, see where they work, and go up to them and start a dialogue with them. Of course, LinkedIn has really strong search capabilities, which is one of the unique features of the platform. So you could search for the CEO of X type of company in X industry, and you can find them at that conference. And as long as you're interesting enough and you start that conversation with the right opener, you can hook their attention. And that's what's really unique about LinkedIn, is that it takes so many of these features that are present at a conference and it puts them online and actually makes them quite accessible. Obviously, you need to dress right at a conference, right? You need to make sure that you dress the part, which is sort of like having a good profile. You need good openers, right? Otherwise, people will just kind of turn the other way and move on to their next conversation. You need to have something to say. But if those pieces are in place, you can get really far by attending this online conference.
Yeah, I think it's much more acceptable to reach out. Like when people reach out to me in my inbox in Instagram, I'm like, oh God, what is this? Sometimes it's great. Very often it's just like, hi, I've seen your work and it's wonderful. Tell me, how long have you been a coach for? Oh no. Whereas, I mean, then that does happen on LinkedIn, but it's less so. I've had a lot more conversations that are like, let's grab a virtual coffee and like learn more about what we do. It just feels less creepy somehow. So let's get down to the like meat and potatoes of the discussion, which is talking about profiles. Why do you insist that a successful LinkedIn strategy has to start with the profile?
Well, I'll start by telling you what I used to do when I worked with clients. So I've only had my business open for about 6 months now. So I'm still relatively new to being in business. And what I used to do is I would start by working with clients on their strategy. So we would start by working on how they're going to bring people to their profile online, right? We would post, we would send direct messages. Essentially, we're using strategies to bring people to them, both inbound and outbound. And what I realized through this strategic work is that while it was working, if the profile wasn't optimized, we were essentially wasting our effort. And so I basically tried an experiment about 2 months ago where I said, if somebody wants to work with me, the first thing that they need to do is optimize their profile. And I started building my own messaging around that because I realized that before you attract traffic, you need to have a well-designed storefront, right? I like to use the analogy of saying, what happens if you own a smoothie store on the beach and you want to bring more traffic to that smoothie stand? Well, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to make sure that the pricing is clear, that the signage is beautiful, that it looks like an attractive place to buy a smoothie. You wouldn't run ads before you had those basics in place. And so 2 months ago or so, I started requiring that my clients start with the profile optimization. And I found that they're getting such better results because when we get to strategy, which is the second step of my process after we do the profile, their messaging is clear. It's obvious how folks can work with them because they have a discovery call link in their profile. The value is abundantly clear in their about section. And it's just easy to understand the value again, and that the what, why, how of what that service provider or small business owner does. And so that's why I insist on starting with your profile. You sometimes see results directly from optimizing your profile. So sometimes the moment that you optimize your profile, you'll actually start getting leads because you have a lot of traffic and that traffic just doesn't know what to do. But sometimes it does take longer. And so I just wanted to give you all not a warning, but like what to expect, which is that sometimes optimizing your profile makes an immediate impact and sometimes it doesn't. Doesn't mean you're doing something wrong, but you also need to bring traffic to your profile in order to bring leads. But nonetheless, we still need to start with your profile first.
Right. So, I mean, it's not really a question of like build it and they will come. You know, often, mostly you need to put in the effort with all the other aspects as well. Like, yes, optimize your profile and we'll go into that. But then afterwards, you don't just kind of like sit back and wait. So you talked about a few important aspects of a good LinkedIn profile. But like, you know, what would be your top 5, 6,
Yeah, I'm
or
going to
however
share my
many you want?
screen. I'm going to share my screen with you all. So I'm going to walk you all through my profile as a starting point. And we're going to do audits shortly. So we'll compare how we can structure a profile and what the opportunities are. So here's my profile on LinkedIn. And here at the very top, I actually have a call to action. So my call to action is get clients on LinkedIn. This is called the cover image on LinkedIn. And the cover image is a highly underutilized resource on your profile. Most people have it blank, or they'll have some like picture of the mountains or hot air balloons or something like that. And so what I encourage you to do in your cover image is to create a call to action. And when we create a call to action, we don't want it to be something like get LinkedIn tips, because getting LinkedIn tips is just very like practical and not at all aspirational. And people often don't know why they want LinkedIn tips. So we want to get to the root of the issue. Why do they need LinkedIn tips? Because they want more clients, in my case. Or why do they want recipes if you're a chef? Because they want to get healthier or they want to cook better food. So we really want to get one level deeper in terms of what we're speaking to in this call to action. And then after we have that kind of results-based, get clients on LinkedIn or get healthier or whatever that is, we then tell them how. So for me, I tell them learn how by reading my free weekly emails, or oftentimes folks will write book a discovery call. So we want to start with that cover image. It's prime real estate, and I encourage you to take advantage of it. The next thing we want to do is we want to have a clear, focused image, a profile image. Oftentimes folks will zoom too far in or too far back, or there'll be a distracting background. And so we just want something simple and clear that looks and feels like you. All right, the next element is your headline. Your headline is here. So here, I've just highlighted it. For me, I wrote LinkedIn coach, helping small business owners find clients on LinkedIn without being salesy. So the general formula that I recommend for your headline is first we start with your title. So your title might be business coach for Sara, or brand photographer, or for me, it's LinkedIn coach. And after that, you write what you do by explaining who you help and then how you help them. So I like to use this as a starting point. We go helping X with Y so they can Z. So if you're taking notes, this would be a good thing to write. Helping X with Y so they can Z. So for me, I help small business owners find clients on LinkedIn. I actually have without being salesy. Sometimes you can add that without to be even more specific about what you help them with. And so you can use that structure to just start playing around with it. So you might say, helping busy moms prep meals so that they aren't as stressed anymore. Or if you're a brand photographer, you could say, building, taking beautiful photos for small business owners so that they can show up beautifully online, something like that. And again, we can play with this sentence and we can take liberties, but if we start with helping blank with blank so they can blank, it'll get you started on this road to really clarifying the value that you add. All right, I'm going to show you just a few more of my favorite sections. Really, the sections at the top are the most important. So we just really went through a few of the most important sections already. But next up, we have your about section. And your about section is a terrific place to explain who you help and how you help them and why you're qualified to help them. So generally speaking, I recommend starting your about section not with a description of yourself. And I know that's really counterintuitive. Usually folks start their about section by saying, where they grew up or what they studied and so forth. But I would start your about section by talking about the problem that your client faces, because after all, everyone's selfish, aren't they? So for me, I like to speak to the needs of my clients. So here you can even see, to grow your business, you need more clients. That's a fundamental problem that my clients face, and it's something I can support them with. And so that's why I start with that broad statement. So think about the problem that your clients experience and describe that problem in those first few sentences of your LinkedIn profile. Once you do that, you want to establish your credibility. So here, I explain my credibility. So I talk about how I was invited to events. I talk about all the clients I've helped. I explain how I get signups for my email list on a consistent basis. So again, I'm trying to show people here that I'm qualified to do the work that I do. So if you're a nutritionist, for example, here is where you might talk about the certifications that you have, the number of clients you've helped, how folks have improved their lives because of the work that you've done with them. I like to add a testimonial inside of your about section. Social proof is such a critical part of building an effective online presence, and we really want to show people how you have specifically helped others in the past. So definitely encourage a testimonial to be within your about section. And then you can be really tactical about how you help. So you can create a few bullets like I did here about how you help folks. Or you could have them be a little bit more vague. So some folks don't have as clear of packages. Maybe you do custom packages for your clients. So in that case, you could just have a few sentences here that says something along the lines of, if you're looking for X and Y, I can help you in, X and Y way. And then the most important part, or one of the most important parts, comes at the end, where we tell people what to do next. What's the call to action? So our call to action here is to stay in touch. So I promote my email list quite a bit because I'm very proud of the emails that I send every week. And I know that those emails that I send actually convert into clients and build trust with my audience. So I'm always promoting my email list. But again, some folks often opt toward promoting their discovery call link. So here you could also say book a discovery call. Or you might know that your clients don't really want to book a discovery call. They just want to send you a WhatsApp message. So you could write, send me a WhatsApp message here, or go to my website, or send me an email. Again, depends on what behaviors your clients like to take and what's comfortable for them. But you can have that desired call to action here at the end of that about section. Sara, I know I'm going through a lot of sections. Do you have any questions before I keep going?
No, I would say let's just do it, because you're going to go through it when you do the audits as well.
Yeah.
So maybe just talk about the featured section, which is where you are now, and then we can go into the audits.
Okay, perfect. Because we'll definitely cover that. So the next section is featured. And here I like to have just one link that promotes your desired call to action. So for me, again, that's joining my email list. For you, it might be booking a discovery call or checking out your packages on your website, but you can just have one featured link there. So I'm going to pause here. We've covered a lot of ground, and it'll help us go faster when we do the audits. But we'll cover the rest of the profile as we do those shortly.
Okay, so we have 3 people that signed up when I put out the original post. These spots went very quickly. Sara, you usually charge for these audits, right? It's a paid.
I do. Yeah.
How much you charge? What's the price of these audits?
I actually switched I'm not even doing audits anymore. Now I'm doing full profile refreshes. So when I do a full profile refresh, it costs $375 or 1,290 shekels.
So there you go. So these 3 lucky people are getting a bargain. So who's first up?
We have Elisheva first. Is Elisheva on the call?
Elisheva Eisbach, yes. She is.
Perfect. So I might ask you a few questions as we go, which is why I wanted to have you here. So first of all, I love this colorful vibe that we have when we come to your profile. I think it's so unique and it really conveys how artistic you are, which I assume is something that you wanted to convey here. And the first thing I noticed though is I'm curious what you do at Most Design, right? So we see that there's, you know, this artistic vibe going on through your cover photo and your profile photo, but I want to know what's the impact that you're having at Most Design. So if we remember my formula for the header, where we said helping X with Y so they can Z, that will be really helpful to put here so that immediately people can see what's the impact that you're having on them and who specifically you target, because right now that's not clear. And then similarly, we can add that same text layover here. So we might need to simplify the design a bit that's in the background. Maybe you can create a border with it so that there's room for text. And then using that text, you can have a call to action, again, based on the impact that you're having to get folks to book a discovery call, send you a WhatsApp message, or join your email list. Elisheva, do you have any questions as I'm going? Okay, great. So as we go down, I notice that there's no featured section. So that's a great section to add. And in that featured section, you could link your website or the link to book a discovery call. And there's also no about section. So definitely go back, if you're watching the recording, to the section where I explain how to create your about section. So you can fill in those different elements, and that will be a great addition to really build your credibility, explain your ideal client, and how folks can work with you and get in touch with you. All right, so next we're going to go to experience. I love what you have here with all of these images. It's so visually appealing, especially considering your focus on design. But I want to see a few sentence description again of what Most Design does. Because still at this point in your profile, I'm not sure what Most Design does. And so we want to be super clear versus being clever, super clear about how you can help folks, how they can work with you, so they don't have to be guessing what you do. And then I want to scroll down a bit. Your education looks good. Projects looks really nice. What I see is missing at the bottom of your profile is the recommendation section. And the recommendation section is a highly underutilized section of LinkedIn because the recommendation section adds that social proof to your profile. And there's really no way you can go wrong with adding too many recommendations. Sometimes folks will ask me like, how many is too many? And the answer is there's no amount that's too many. Think about going to a restaurant. Would you want to go to a restaurant that didn't have reviews? Or would you want to go to a restaurant that had 1,500 reviews, all 5-star?
Sorry,
so
what
of
was
course,
the question you just mentioned? I muted myself because I have a baby. You said people sometimes ask you how many reviews do you have? How many recommendations you have?
Yeah, how many recommendations on your profile?
How many
So I'm
should
going
I
to show
have?
you. You can have as many as possible. I recommend having at least 3. So here you can see in my profile, I have 25, 20, I have 23 total recommendations from as recent as May 15th. So just a few days ago, I have a client, had a client leave a review. So what we want is a lot of recent recommendations that show satisfied clients with the service that you provide. You can also ask for recommendations directly in your profile. You just click the plus button and then you click ask for a recommendation. So it's really, really simple to ask clients for a recommendation through LinkedIn. All right, so now that we covered Elisheva's profile, are we ready to go on to the next one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Let's do it.
Elise,
Let's do it.
is
Is
Elise
Elise
here?
on? Let's see.
Okay, so she'll catch this in the replay then.
Okay.
So Elise is doing yoga, Pilates, movement, and massage. And the first thing I see when I come to her cover image is very straightforward, right? Yoga, Pilates, movement, and massage, and her name. Actually, because her name is also right here, it's relatively duplicative to have it up here as well. And so instead of having her name and what she does up here, I would encourage her to use that space to have a call to action, right? Something that appeals to people's deeper desires. Perhaps Elisa's clients want to get fit, or they want to get their bodies feeling healthy again. So she could use a call to action like that, as well as an encouragement to join her email list or book a class, for example, on her website. So again, that really simple call to action with exactly what the transformation is that they can expect, as well as a specific action that they can take.
And you know,
I
there's
really
this there's this link. I remember like watching a tutorial on how to do it, but there's like a link that sits just underneath that will take you to like one specific place. How do you activate that?
So
It's not,
it's a little
it
bit
wasn't
tricky.
that. It kind of has like an arrow next to it. Do you know what I mean? If you have a look at mine, you'll see what I mean.
Let's look at yours.
Maybe I'm just not explaining it very well. Learn more. I called mine learn more.
Yeah.
The call to action button, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so she has that on her profile.
Oh yeah, okay.
Let's go back to that.
I forgot Elise said she wasn't going to be on the call. I don't know why I was looking for her. Where is it?
It says flowjerusalem.com. But what she can actually do here is she can click edit. The button will be like right around here when she's editing her profile. And then she can change it from Flow Jerusalem to book a class. So again, telling people what they can expect when they go to that website. So making people not have to guess why they should click that link.
Right. That's quite, because otherwise it's quite open-ended. And once upon a time we used to enjoy like going to look at blogs, and I used to like deliberately click on people's links so I could read their blog posts. But now we're a lot lazier. We need to know what's in it for me.
Exactly. I'm going to skip over the headline because we've gone through 2 examples of successful headlines, but there's a lot of qualifications that are listed in her headline here, and it makes the headline really difficult to read. And so what I want to encourage Elise to do here is to use my formula that I shared earlier about how to create a headline in order to create something that's easy for folks to skim and quickly understand how she can help them make their lives better.
Yeah, I would say like also the abbreviations, the only people that tend to understand them are the people that are in the field who are not necessarily, well, they're not your ideal clients. So you probably you can end up like kind of like scaring people off with all of these like letters and numbers.
Yeah, Sarah, you're exactly right. If you are a doctor or a rabbi or a title like that, that can be really valuable to add like within your name itself. So I often encourage my clients to do that. But in terms of all of those, more jargony certifications, those don't add much value to the audience. For the featured section here, I would simplify it and have just one link in the featured section, which has that desired call to action. Again, that should be the same call to action that we list at the top of the page, so that our whole profile is telling one message. That message could be to book a class, or it could be to book a discovery call, or to join your email list. We're telling one story throughout the entire profile.
Can you have more than one call to action? I don't know if I'm allowed to ask a question, but I'm asking.
Yeah, you can. In general, I recommend one. And the reason is because people's attention is so limited as it is, that if we can tell the same story in numerous parts of your profile, it'll make it more likely that they take that specific action. However, sometimes it will make sense to have 2 links. Perhaps one link would be towards your discovery call, and another link might be for your website. So they can check out the pricing on your website and then book a discovery call. So sometimes having 2 will make sense, but in general, we want to have a very, streamlined, simple experience, and that can be facilitated with less links featured versus more.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so as we go down, I'm looking for the about sections here. So here I shared that formula earlier of how we can create the about section. This about section is very focused on her experience. And again, I'd encourage her to focus on who she serves and what problems those clients have. And then to be very specific about how she can help them. So what types of yoga and Pilates classes or private or group instruction she provides. And then again, at the end, how to be in contact with her. All right, so next is the experience section. I'm excited to cover this because we haven't got into this just yet. But she has a business here called Flow Yoga School. And it doesn't seem to be linked to an actual business page. So a lot of you will have your own company because a lot of you are solo business owners. So Sarah's a great example here. Sarah, what's your company technically called?
Really good question. So at the moment, it's just my name. In the future, I hope to, come up with a company name, but I'm holding back from giving it a name until I'm 100% in it. So
we'll say your company's called
we can
your
make
name,
it up.
right? Sara Anand. What we want to do is actually go into LinkedIn and create a company called Sara Anand. And that's so important because when a company doesn't have a logo, like there's no logo here, as you all can see, it sort of looks fake. It doesn't look very credible. And so what I encourage you to do is to make sure that your most recent experience, which is likely your own company because most of you are small business owners, that should have a logo attached to it. And the way that you attach the logo is by creating a company page. I will tell you, you don't need to do very much with the company page once you have it, but you just need to have it. That's what's important.
And is it like a relative, because I asked you about this like last week or the week before and I haven't done it yet. Is it a relatively simple process?
Usually it takes 5-10 minutes. It's quite straightforward.
Amazing.
And I actually have a tutorial video on how to create the company page. So if anyone on the call knows, okay, I need to create a company page, send me a message on LinkedIn and I'll send you over that tutorial video so that you can see very, very easily step-by-step how to do that. Okay, so that's what's most important in your experience section. In addition to having just a few sentences that describe that most recent role. So again, you don't need to obsess over those past experiences, but really take a look at your most 2 recent roles. Make sure that they're linked to the correct companies and make sure you have at least a few sentence description of what you did there. All right, education looks great. No, I have no feedback on that section. Licenses and certification also looks good. I would like to see if Accessible Yoga School has a company page because it would be great to tag them, again, to add that credibility here. But I can see there's 13 licenses and certifications that Elise has, which would really boost her credibility. So this is a really strong section of her profile. The skills section doesn't look updated, so I would definitely go through the skills section and make sure to update that. So you might add something like yoga teaching or her embodiment education, again, using some of those keywords from your headline under that skills section. And then similar to Elisheva, we wanted to add some profile reviews or recommendations. So make sure to reach out to a few satisfied clients and have them leave recommendations on your profile. All right, last but not least, Malka. And I think Malka's on the call, right?
Yeah. She's waving. I don't know what you can
Perfect.
see versus what I can see. It's really confusing. Like I can see
Now I
you
see
at
her.
the top and some people down the bottom.
Perfect. Well, Malka, I'm happy you're here so we can talk through this briefly together. So the first thing I noticed is this cover image at the top. And in the cover image, we have the wording illuminate your marriage. So what I wanted to ask is if your ideal audience comes to you saying, I want to illuminate my marriage, or if they come to you saying something like, I need to fix my marriage, or I need to feel less stressed from when I come home
This-
from work.
The second.
The second. So we can use language like that. And the best way to find this language is just to pull language directly from discovery calls that you're having or from conversations you're having with clients. So that's how I would structure that, benefit that you have in the top of the cover image. And then I want you to add a call to action specifically. So after we say fix your marriage, we would say something along the lines of book a discovery call or join my email list so that folks know what action they can take in order to stay in touch with you. The next thing I see is your image looks a little bit blurry. So my sense is that you probably downloaded this from another site and then uploaded it here. So I would encourage you to re-upload that image, just see if you can remove some of that blur here. Here we have your headline, love your family and love your life. I help Jewish and Jewish married moms create better relationships with your kids, partner, and yourself. This is already a really strong headline. I really like what you've done here. I would consider adding your title directly. So I'm not sure exactly what you call yourself. Life coach for married women is what you have done here. So, or it could be marriage therapist, however the appropriate way is to call yourself. You could actually have that at the beginning of your headline. And the reason I like doing that is just so that people can get the quick answer to what does Malka do before even seeing the benefit. It's just a very practical way to explain to people what you do. Here we have top marriage tips and more. And I like to stay away from language that is this practical in a call to action button. So instead, I want to explain the benefit that folks can have. So similar to fix your marriage, we want to be really specific here about what they can expect to learn. So maybe learn how to have less stress in your marriage, and then they click to learn more about that downloadable resource. So again, we'll have to play with that wording, but we want to make it really specific and clear what they're going to get from those marriage tips. Okay, so also the featured section, we can add a link to book a discovery call, as we had explained with the previous profile, so I won't go into that too much. Your about section here, I love how you start by talking about the problem, so that's spot on, and you're doing that perfectly here. I would see if you can boost further here your credibility. So talk more about the certifications you have, the client results that you get. That'll help people really build trust with you by reading that about section. You can also explain what type of services you offer, whether it's one-to-one, group, courses, you name it. And then at the end, again, you can tell folks how they can work with you. So how can they be in touch with you, whether it's calling you on WhatsApp, booking a call, joining your email list, or so forth and so forth. Next, we have experience. Same feedback here. We want to build a company page for your current company. Again, even if it's a really simple name, just like your first and last name, it's better to have a company page linked than not. Under skills, I would think about having skills that directly reflect what skills you use on a day-to-day basis. So relationship coach totally works here, but strategy doesn't make as much sense. So I want to think about how we can have that second skill really build you up as the talented coach that you are. So you might say, stress reduction as another skill in addition to relationship coaching. So again, we want to build
do that
under the skills.
Yeah.
So what you can do is send me a message on LinkedIn, and I'll send you a tutorial that will walk you through exactly how to update the skill section. That'll be the quickest way to do this. But basically, there's like an edit button on your profile, and it'll allow you to change up the skills that are listed. Recommendations, we want to add recommendations. So requesting those from past clients will be a no-brainer here. So that's all the feedback that I have for the 3 audits. So I'm going to pause there, Sarah, and give you back the mic.
Amazing, amazing. I'm trying to just change the view on this to just be like side by side view, or wow. I don't know. It very much wants to focus on you. What can I say? I'll try multi-speaker. I don't know. Sorry if this I have no idea if this affects the recording or not. I don't know. But that anyway, that was fabulous. And I think it was just right. We're right on time to have a discussion about the questions that came up while he was speaking. Most people hopefully wrote them down in the chat section here, but if you didn't put your questions into the chat, you can do that now, and then we can work through and have a look at what the questions were. So Justine asked, is the verification on the LinkedIn profile essential? And I probably should have asked you that before I went through the process of doing it.
I actually haven't verified my own profile. So I would say it's not essential. I'm not actually sure. It's a relatively new feature. I'm not so familiar with what it allows, like what it enables, if it even enables anything. So I know most of my clients don't do it because they don't want to give LinkedIn their passport. So I wouldn't.
As I was like finishing off, I'm like, is this like a massive security issue? You have to scan your passport in order to get verified. No, let's see. Do you know what? I'm so like out there online anyway. I'm like, right, fine, have my passport. So so Justine, I would say let's wait and see what happens to me before you do it. So educating with passion and expertise. Who is that in real life? Oh, hi. So you're asking discovery call link. How does one protect themselves? I understand what you're saying. It sounds revealing, but it could be unsafe as well. I remember like when I first started using Zoom back in the day, like pre-corona, I was very nervous to put that link out there to say, reach out to me for a 20-minute call. I don't know about you, Sarah, but I've never had any weirdness going on.
Yeah.
Have you?
It's a great question, and it's something a lot of my clients are concerned about. So I'm really glad you asked. Thank you. There's two options. One is actually what I do. I don't have a booking link on my profile. If you want to work with me, you have to send me a message. And I do that intentionally because I also just want to make sure that I'm, vetting folks appropriately or pre-qualifying them, as folks will often say in sales, before they get on a call. Because I've had many sales calls where I just wasted my time. And if I had talked to them briefly before, that wouldn't have happened. So
that's a really good point, because you can pre-qualify, even if you're using something like Calendly, which is free, you can have questions that pre-qualify, and that is what I do. If someone wants to book in for a call, they have to answer the questions. And from those answers, I can tell if it's like a spam or if it's like a real genuine question. That's true.
Yep, that's exactly the other suggestion is if you do go the route of putting your discovery call link up, so you could use Calendly. I use a program called SavvyCal that I really like. If you put that link up, you can require that in order to book the time, they answer 3 or 4 questions. One of those questions could be something like, do you have a budget for this service? So you're literally checking that they know that they have to pay, which I wish it weren't so obvious, but some folks come wanting free stuff, or they don't have the appropriate budget. And so that just helps establish you as being credible and reminds folks that your services are paid, and whatever other qualification is needed.
Excuse me, but that answer that you just gave for the discovery call, that there must be a budget?
No, not a budget for like
free.
Not paying for the call. The call's free, but it's like you're having a call about this service. Like for example, I have one for a discovery call for my coaching, and I have like a drop down, and one of the questions is like, this coaching program costs blah, in case they haven't actually, even though they've booked through my website, very often they haven't read. And then I ask for a response. I can't remember, like, how do you feel about it or whatever it is, and you have a choice. It's like, yeah, that's great, or it'll be tight, but I can do it in installments, or the other response is no, I won't be able to pay that. And then if it's a no, I won't be able to pay that, I'll still have a quick call with them because I feel like it's kind of rude not to, but I know that it's probably not going to go anywhere. I mean, that's just my personal way that I do it.
That qualifying question, it's good, those qualifying questions.
Oh, it's absolutely changed the way that the calls work now.
Yeah, would either of you recommend maybe multiple choice, saying something like, please let me know like your budget for the upcoming projects that you want to talk about, like 0, like 1,000 to 5,000, 5,000 to 10. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you give them like 3 choices or 10,000 plus.
Yeah.
That
yeah, I used to do it like that, and then I kind of changed it to just kind of like this. I wanted to say like this is the price, because for me it's like a set price. Right. Can you pay it? Can you pay it in installments? Can you not pay it?
Right. And if it's not a set price, I mean, because again, for me right now, actually, it's more project based. It's like, well, what are we talking about? What's the scope? So, all right, that's cool. Yeah, it's a good suggestion. Thank you.
One other question, and I know someone just popped this in the chat. One other question you can add that works extremely well is, why is this a priority to fix now? So you ask, what's the problem? Then you ask, why is this a priority to fix now? And then you ask the budget question. And when they give you the information about why it's a priority, that's really good wording to use when you talk to them on the discovery call, because you can speak back to them the problem that they explained, as well as why it's important for them to solve it.
Because it's like you have to process, you have to say, oh, okay, this is real. I'm getting on this call. I need to get real about this. I have to just say like, okay, I've hit a brick wall in my business. I need support. I need this. I need that. And then you get on the call and you make damn sure that you've actually read the person's responses. I have it in front of me printed out. I'm like, okay, so this is what you said. Tell me more about that. And, so this 20-minute call isn't just like messing about. It's like, let's get down to business and actually talk about like what the issues are here. It's really, really effective.
I find especially with Israelis, you really have to cut to the chase. I just give the price. With Israelis, I do ask for 70% upfront instead of 50% upfront. That's my thing. I'm a writer, editor, and translator. And I just cut to the chase. You on an email, you can either, this is the quote, you can pay it or you can't, and move on.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I actually often share my prices in advance, so someone will approach me via LinkedIn. They'll tell me the problem. They'll tell me why it's urgent in the LinkedIn chat. I'll then say, here's my pricing. Would you be interested in moving forward with one of the services, or do you want to hop on a call and discuss if it's a good fit? So again, there's no question about what that price is.
I think we've been encouraged way too much to be afraid of putting the pricing out there. And I've always, from the minute I had my first website in 2007, I always put my prices on. Because what on earth do you want to be kind of like wasting your time and wasting the other person's time when it's completely out of their league? I really, really encourage people to just be like honest and open and not embarrassed about the fact that you charge for your services, because that's what you're in business for.
I like that. I know when I had like a blogging business for lawyers, it was like I could sell packages because it was like a certain amount of posts cost this, certain amount of posts cost that. But if you're doing something like what I'm doing now, is more like consulting. I don't like to quote hourly rates, but it's like I can size up a project and say, all right, that'll be $20,000, dollars to do this, or 10,000 shekels to do that. How do you sort of put that pricing? Would you put a per hour pricing up, or because again, without knowing the scope, it becomes hard to.
Yeah, I was thinking about you. I was thinking about you before you brought up your question, actually, because I know you do more custom work. I wouldn't default to an hourly rate. I don't think that's needed in this scenario, but you could add, it's very fair not to share custom, rates before, because you don't have the details of the project, but you could say custom projects begin at. That would be one nice way to do it. So for example, I typically don't take work under, let's just say X shekels or X dollars. Maybe for a retainer, let's say. So I'm going to go talk to a company, and I do often advise companies on LinkedIn, but I could say I don't have packages less than X shekels or X dollars per month.
That's really good. I like that. It sounds almost like you're a hedge fund. Like we don't take less than $10 million.
Yeah,
Cool.
you're a wealth manager.
Yeah, that's really good. Thank
So
you.
I want to make sure that everyone that like put questions in the chat that we get to them all. My question, I reckon you could probably answer me afterwards. I was just basically saying that the dimensions that Canva gives you for cover images for LinkedIn is always wrong. So I'd love to know about the sizing for that, because I end up just create something, download it, tweak it, it's painful. So
yeah, I have a guide for that, so I can send that over.
Of course you do. Of course you do. Ilan is asking, how important is it for a LinkedIn post to look different than a Facebook post?
Generally, there's a few mistakes I often see. I mean, we could have a whole webinar about posts, and maybe we will in the future, but it's typically a mistake. I don't encourage repurposing directly from a platform like Facebook. And the reason why is because LinkedIn behaves differently as a platform than Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, so forth. So for example, on Instagram, there's a lot of you-based language, right? You can do this, you can do that, very kind of aspirational you-based language. Whereas on LinkedIn, it's a lot more I focused, because it's a lot more thought leadership focused. So it's more about what I have done. And so each platform has its own style. And what happens if you repurpose too much from platform to platform is it starts to just look repurposed. And when content looks like it wasn't developed for that platform, people start to tune it out. Sometimes it can look too salesy. Sometimes it can look like you don't actually have a voice, like you're speaking in the voice of your company. You're not actually speaking in your voice. And it's so important that when you post on LinkedIn, you post as you. You're not posting as your company. You're posting as you, the expert who happens to have a company, because of your unique experience. And so I just touched a few different things related to posting, but I wouldn't recommend directly reposting from platform to platform, because it can degrade trust.
That's really interesting what we said about the I perspective versus the you perspective. I've never picked up on that, apart from seeing people's posts where they're like, I am thrilled to announce, I'm honored to announce. There's lots of announcements though where people are very thrilled and honored. I've always noticed that, but that's a really good point. I want to just go through a few more. Justine's question, I understand what she's saying with the recommendation. It asks for how the person worked with you, and the options are not always relevant. For example, I did a workshop for a company and would like their recommendation, but there's no option for that.
The best option to choose would be they were a client of mine. So if you did a workshop, you can consider that person a client.
Yeah. Can the recommendations be bilingual? I've never looked at getting them in another language. I'm assuming it's possible. Is it?
Yeah, I assume you can have, the client will write in the language of their choice. If you serve primarily English-speaking clients, I recommend that your recommendations be in English as well as your profile. If you serve primarily Hebrew-speaking clients, I recommend that your profile and recommendations be in Hebrew. Not every LinkedIn coach agrees with me on this one, actually. A lot of LinkedIn coaches will say that all LinkedIn content should be in English, but I like to believe that if your audience isn't comfortable in English, then let's not present to them or speak to them in a language that's not comfortable for them. So I was just talking with someone who speaks Hebrew to their clients. And so I was encouraging them to write posts in Hebrew. Or have their profile be in Hebrew. But again, it depends on your unique audience.
Sarah, I teach both English and Hebrew. I teach,
so it makes sense.
As well as within Israel.
Yeah, you can have a combination on your profile. That's one option. So sometimes you'll have like literally the header twice. So the header will start with the English version of the header, and then next to it will be the Hebrew. You just have to manage character count. And you can have half the recommendations in Hebrew, half in English. But really think too, like, who is it that you most want to attract? If you are most eager to attract English speakers, I would write the profile in English. If you're most eager to attract Hebrew speakers, I would do it in Hebrew. If you truly want both, you can do it in both, but think about which one is more important to your current marketing goals.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm trying to like get through, see which of these questions you've already answered. I think you did address like having more than one call to action. The point is to really get focused on one call to action. Like for you, you want people to join your list. So you're going to bring people there and you're very consistent with your list and your emails are amazing. And, you know, when people are on your list, they're in your world, and it's not like they're not going to be able to find their way to your services from there. So I would really recommend getting very focused on like one place that you want to lead people personally. Is it wise to list companies that you formed which no longer exist?
It depends, is what I would say.
Yeah, exactly.
If you worked there for a few years and you had, you know, a very significant experience there, I would definitely list that. I wouldn't create a company page for that if it's years back. I just wouldn't waste your time doing that.
Yeah, it's a waste of time.
But it is really important to have a relevant work history. And so if you did several years at a previous company that you owned that no longer exists, that's still very relevant work history to include.
And okay, so yes, recommendation, and Elishaba's question about recommendation is the same as endorsement. It's the same, right? It's the same thing.
They're different. So a recommendation is when you write text about the person,
okay,
on LinkedIn, whereas an endorsement is where you endorse
it's
skills.
Skills. Endorsements related to skills. Got it.
I wouldn't worry about endorsements.
Once you start listing your skills, people can like endorse, yes, she's really good at spelling. I've had people endorse skills that I haven't even met them, so people get a bit weird with those.
I wouldn't worry about endorsements on skills. It's not something that's very important.
And then another Elisheva question was, I think I know what she's talking about here, the small first, second, and third at the top when you were screen sharing. I think that's to do with connections, right? First connection means you're actually connected on LinkedIn. Second means you're connected via someone else.
Yep, you summarized it perfectly.
Okay. I mean, we could obviously go into depth about lots of these things, but we want to try and wrap it up reasonably soon. We talked about prices, the value of being on premium versus not.
Yeah, I can give you. What's yours, Sarah?
I tried it out for a bit. It's like I tried out being meta verified on Instagram for a bit. I personally didn't see huge benefits in it, but that's possibly because I wasn't like living on LinkedIn. How about you?
I have premium because I use LinkedIn all the time for my job. So there are some useful features, and don't get me wrong, LinkedIn does like to just irk you a little bit. They give you a limited number of connection requests that you can send with a note, without a note, or with a note if you don't have premium. So it can get a little bit annoying. However, the cost is relatively high and you can do a lot successfully without LinkedIn Premium. So nearly all of my clients don't use premium. The only scenario in which it makes sense to use premium is when you're doing more volume. So if you work at a startup and you want to be approaching dozens and dozens of clients a day or a week, then it can make a lot of sense. Or if your lead generation is entirely coming from LinkedIn and you really want to get sophisticated with your DMs, maybe you'll want to use LinkedIn Premium. However, before you use LinkedIn Premium, I want to make sure you have 3 things in place. So ask yourself, do I have an optimized profile, which is what we learned how to do today? You can ask yourself, does my DM strategy work? Meaning when I direct message people, am I able to convert them into discovery calls? That's the second thing. And the third thing is, does my content get good engagement that results in inbound messages? If you don't have an effective content strategy, an effective DM strategy, and a good profile, then I wouldn't invest in that extra, I think it's $800 or $900 a year in premium. So there's a lot you should do before investing in premium.
Yeah, 100%. Brilliant answer. Okay, so this one is quite a common question from Sipora Eisen. She's still on the call, I can't see. yeah, so it's like, can you have more than one professional title hat on your LinkedIn profile? For example, I'm a content and copywriter as well as a yoga and a movement instructor. And, you know, my 2 pence worth is that, you know, what you talked about before about getting very, very clear in your headline. I help blah to do blah with or without blah. So if you, it's very, very difficult. I personally, I've tried to, it's very hard to combine the 2 things that I now do. I wrapped up my photography business and I'm now focusing on coaching and content creation. And they are very, there's an overlap between them, between the 2 of them. And still, it's very, very difficult to have that. It's really hard to have that one like tagline of what you do. And I would say even more so when you're trying to combine the content and copywriting with yoga and movement. I would almost say like create 2 profiles, even though I try and steer people away from, like when I'm helping people with Instagram, having 2 Instagram accounts. I would say for this, it's really confusing. Really, really confusing.
Sarah, I agree with.
Yeah, I just want to add to the question. It's can you even have 2 profiles? And the other question is it even relevant to be a yoga and movement teacher on LinkedIn? Like it sort of goes together, because it's like it doesn't even seem relevant because I don't feel like my clients are on LinkedIn for that, but they are for content and copy. So thanks.
Yeah, so Sarah, I agree with everything you said with one exception, which is I would never create 2 LinkedIn profiles. It's going to be too much to manage, and LinkedIn isn't built like Instagram is, where you can have different brand profiles. So we want to think about LinkedIn as being you, right? You are showing up on LinkedIn, and you can be multi-passionate. That's okay that you have different interests. But what we want to focus our LinkedIn on is our top marketing priority. So if your top marketing priority is you know, your content creation business, let's just say, versus yoga instructing, then the profile is focused towards being a yoga instructor, a content creator. It's fine to have the job listed that you're currently a yoga teacher, but your headline is focused entirely on content creation. Your cover image is focused entirely on content creation. Your featured section is content creation. Your about section is content creation. It's fine that you have other jobs, right? Those are all relevant to who you are as a professional. But again, the yoga students are likely not the primary demographic looking to, you know, browse your LinkedIn profile or read your content. It's probably the content creation folks. And so that's why I would focus the profile on that primary marketing goal.
Right.
But I wouldn't create the extra profile. It'll be too much work for what it's worth.
Okay, awesome. So that's that one. I'm trying to like tag the ones that I've answered. We've answered, sorry. I'm not sure what this was about. Can you share suggested qualifying question? I know what it was about. I think we did go over that. What's a qualifying question? Yes, we did. Yes. Covered. Okay, so this one, on some people's LinkedIn posts, there is a request services or something like that in bold under their name. Is that a premium thing? What's that?
It's a good question. I'm not sure, actually, if it's premium. I know on my profile, I have a section that allows you to request services, but I don't have a good answer if it's premium or not, because I do have a premium account.
What does it mean to request services? What happens when you press it?
When you press it, it says what services that you offer. Based on LinkedIn's recent release report, they're going to be doubling down more on this type of feature, the request services feature, but it's still not clear how it'll change. And I'm also not sure if it's premium or not. So I don't have a good answer for you on that.
Okay. Did we get to everyone's questions? Is there anyone? Speak now. Forever hold your peace. If I accidentally skipped past a question somewhere. Let me see. Something's just come in. I popped in late. Will a recording be available? Yes. I have no idea what shape or form this recording is going to be because I could not figure out which view I was supposed to be in. But you got all the juicy stuff, whatever it looks like. Awesome. Amazing. Sarah, thank you so much. This has been incredible. Absolutely incredible.
This was fun. Thank you all for being here. And if we're not already connected on LinkedIn, follow me, connect with me there, Sara Royf, and mention that when you send a connection request, mention that you came from this webinar so I can make sure to accept.
Fantastic. All right.
How do you do that? Can you tell me how to do that? Because I already sent you one. I just said connect. It didn't say with an option to tell you
Sometimes
why.
like when you have the connect thing, it says if you add a little something, it'll kind of encourage people to accept your request. So if you've already sent it, it's too late, but I'm
Okay.
sure she'll
Too late.
recognize your name.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
recognize you. Don't worry.
Thank you.
All right. Sarah and I are going to hang out afterwards. So we'll just wait for everyone
Quick
to say
question.
bye.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So many thank yous. We're still going. Should we throw people out? I'm going to stop recording. Okay. Stop recording.